We have breaking news. A B-52 bomber has just crashed at an Air Force base in California. Typically, the B-52 operates with a total crew of 5, but we don't know yet how many were on board or whether they even could successfully evacuate in any fashion. We are following the story. We're going to bring you more updates as we get them, but that's a B-52 down. And when does he sleep? Or should I ask, does he sleep? First his birthday, then President Trump hosted the UFC event at the White House. Then he announced a peace deal with Iran. And then at 3:15 a.m., about 2 hours after the last UFC fight at the White House, he jumped on Air Force One. And then hours later and earlier today, he landed at the G7 summit in France. President Trump has been nonstop the last 24 hours. While at the G7 summit, President Trump said this.
I'm very happy to say it's signed, the deal's all signed, and the strait is already partially opened.
We're going to have more on that in just a moment. And now Florida U.S. Senator Rick Scott is asking the Department of Justice to investigate an alleged California voting fraud case. Find out what sparked this later in the hour. Senator Scott will be here. I'm Greta Van Susteren. This is The Record. When he went to bed last night, President Trump was probably still on the White House lawn watching the UFC. When he woke up, he was 3/4 across the Atlantic Ocean, headed to the G7 in France. But that's not all the president has been up to in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, he digitally signed a memorandum of understanding with Iran. The complete contents of the memorandum have not yet been disclosed, so we don't know what it is. But President Trump is calling it a peace deal. A short time ago at the G7 and before world leaders, Trump said this.
I'm very happy to say it's signed, the deal's all signed, and the strait is already partially opened. On Friday, it'll be completely opened. We got along very well with Iran. It's a different set of leaders. As you know, the first set is gone, the second set is gone, and we found the third set to be very smart, strong, very smart, but we ended up making a deal. JD's coming in for it. He was originally going to do it. I'll probably be gone by then. So I may be involved, I may not. But JD was coming in for that specifically.
And today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a press conference in Jerusalem. Here's what he said.
טוב, הנשיא טראמפ ואני מכירים אחד את השני הרבה שנים. הוא נשיא ארצות הברית, אני ראש ממשלת ישראל. אנחנו הרבה פעמים רואים עין בעין, ויש גם מקרים שאנחנו רואים פחות עין בעין. אני אחראי לאינטרסים הביטחוניים של ישראל.
Iranian journalist Mohammad Reza Mousavi joins me. Nice to see you, sir. And since it's a memorandum of understanding, the 3 key points that we don't know about, which matters, no nuclear weapon, no ballistic missile program, and also that Iran will stop funding proxy groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. We don't know any of that, but President Trump is calling it a peace deal, or everyone else, memorandum of understanding. So tell me, you know people in Iran. How's it being replayed in Iran?
Well, there is skepticism by hardliner core of the Islamic Republic. Many people have been, there are hundreds of people in each city that have been taken to the streets within the past 3-4 months of the war. And there are super hardline people among them. Some of them have called for the execution of Prime Minister Arakchi or Parliament Speaker Ghalibaf because they agreed to a deal. So still, nobody knows the details of this agreement. But as far as the assurances on not to build a nuclear weapon, it seems possible on the Iranian side. Because already Iran has about 400 kilograms of stockpile, and there is no enrichment running at this point in time. So, in fact, de facto, the enrichment program has halted, and if they can find a kind of solution to do something with that 400 kilograms, that is, according to IAEA Director General, enough for several nuclear bombs, then there will be this concern of the United States will be lifted. But whether Iran is willing to, submit its military program, its missile program, that's a little something to discuss because that's basically what Iran sees as a deterrence factor. in response to especially strong Israeli Air Force and also the Air forces of the region. So I'm not sure whether they're willing and ready to do anything about their ballistic missiles. But one thing that we should consider is that if Iran does this, does the last one, the third one, that is arming Hezbollah and the armed groups in the region, then the nature of the Islamic Republic will be different. It will be only the Islamic Republic by the name. So we don't know. I think really we should have to wait for a couple of days to see what is announced as the details of the agreement.
Well, even if they agreed to no nuclear enrichment, they lied to the IAEA. I mean, they've tricked them before, and they've built it way deep down in the mountains. So verification has to be an important element of any deal.
Well, absolutely. What we know as Iran's dishonesty vis-a-vis the IAEA belonged to probably about 20 some years ago when there was some unannounced nuclear activities. But when the nuclear deal was signed back in 2015, the IAEA had access even to that nuclear site that was very deep under the mountains. So it is not impossible for the IAEA to regain its role as as a surveillance body to monitor Iran's nuclear materials. That is one way, but we should also see whether we're talking about Iran not having a nuclear bomb or not being able to produce one, or we're talking about Iran not having a nuclear fuel, producing cycle, or not a nuclear enrichment at all. Because what we have heard recently is that President Trump, along with other officials, have been saying that they don't want Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon. How Iran sees that is that, all right, we can give you guarantees that we're not going to produce a nuclear weapon. We're not going to be able to do that, but we want to keep our nuclear enrichment cycle. Or even in some cases, there was this resolution of doing a zero-sum enrichment. That is, there would be one cycle of doing enrichment and then diluting the resulted enrichment just to keep the centrifuges working. Because many of these centrifuges will be out of cycle if they're stopped working.
If you'd asked everybody on February 28th in this country, how long Iran was going to be able to stand up to the United States, we all would have said, well, we'll give it 8 hours. It has now been several months. Iran has shown itself to be really tough and resilient, to the regime I'm talking about. And so I think that was a surprise. I don't know if it was a surprise to our War Department and to President Trump, but at least I think a lot of people are surprised how tough, even though they've lost the different layers of their leadership, they're tough. Yeah.
Well, Iran was, still is, but was even more ruled by a gerontocracy. Many of the older, the elder generation of the Iranian officials have died, have been killed. And because Iran has a very centralized government, that is, one person takes the main decisions, many people thought that as soon as the supreme leader was killed, there would be a serious change, in the not just in the ranks, but also in the policies of the government. But it didn't happen because we should remember that the Islamic Republic actually has its roots in the country. They have worked on generations of, military officials, and they have come up the steps. They have taken the steps to, become generals and army men, and they have, to some extent, their own independence from the rest of the world.
Well, at some point, maybe in the future, when we get a better idea, I'd like to talk about all the people that came out who protested in January, which was sort of what provoked a lot of this. And but I don't know what they're saying now because they all went into hiding. But Mohammad Reza Mousavi, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moments ago, at the top of the hour, markets closed. All eyes have been on the market, wondering how they would react to Trump's memorandum of understanding with Iran. So now I have that answer. Markets soared. The Dow closed up nearly 500 points. The S&P 500 closed up over 100 points. And the NASDAQ closed up at a whopping 800 points. And a B-52 bomber has crashed at a U.S. Air Force Base in California. It happened at Edwards Air Force Base. The U.S. military confirmed this crash on X, but has not said whether anyone has been hurt. Meanwhile, what was supposed to be a fun and exciting experience turned into one of the deadliest U.S. tragedies in decades. In Missouri, 12 people, including the pilot, were killed. The passengers were on a skydiving trip. Moments after takeoff, their plane crashed in a field and was engulfed in flames. According to officials, the crash happened only 300 yards from the airport. The local sheriff says some family members waiting for their loved ones to return from their trip witnessed the crash. Here is some of what the sheriff said earlier.
We are treating that as a national or as a mass casualty. We want to be very clear, this is not a commercial airliner that has crashed. It's a local airplane that took off from our local airport.
The cause of the crash is still under investigation. And meanwhile, yesterday, American singer Oliver Tree was among 6 killed in a helicopter crash in Brazil. According to Rio de Janeiro's military fire department, 2 helicopters collided over the city. One of the helicopters crashed into a car dealership parking lot and then caused a fire. Officials say they're investigating the cause of the collision. Coming up, get ready. America 250 celebrations are about to get even bigger. Find out when the record continues.
It's me, Ricky. You know me. You grew up with me. I'm 56 and a half years of age. I am using this right here, Fatty 15, to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient in Fatty 15 has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. And it is a game changer for your overall vitality. I urge you to try Fatty 15. Give your cells what they need and give yourself a chance with more time.
We can all agree, steak is for dads. All types of dads. Grill dads, cast iron dads, charcoal dads, tongue snapping dads. United by their love of steak, whatever kind of dad he is. The perfect gift is waiting at Omaha Steaks. His gift could even include 8 free burgers made from premium aged American beef. Get it in time for Father's Day at omahasteaks.com. Here's to all the dads. They've earned this.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, at 92 years of age with my wife Shirley, who is 83. Now, both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, all because of Immuno 150. Now, we are asking you to use Immuno 150 like we do. Give it a chance for at least 90 days so that you can see what 70 plant minerals and 80 additional nutrients can do for you.
It really is incredible.
Don't place your order until after you've watched the 3 videos on our website.
Former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is in the hospital. The 84-year-old Kentucky Republican was admitted yesterday. The reason for his hospitalization has not been released. Back in February, the former Senate Republican leader was hospitalized for 8 days with flu-like symptoms. McConnell has had recent health problems. In 2023, while speaking to reporters, he suddenly froze. He's also had multiple falls and had to use a wheelchair. McConnell had polio as a child. In February, McConnell announced he is not seeking re-election to the U.S. Senate. Meanwhile, only 3 weeks to go before America turns 250 years old. And today, President Trump announced a massive celebration. The 4th of July celebration will be between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. President Trump is calling it a Trump rally and a tribute to America. Trump says the event will feature more than 300 members of military bands, flyovers, and air shows. There will also be a keynote address from President Trump, and President Trump says the largest fireworks show in history. Last night, we got a preliminary look at Trump's ability to put on a big show. He hosted UFC and thousands of guests at the White House. Before the UFC fights began, there was a spectacular flyover of American jets. The party went on, by the way, into the wee hours. The fights ended about 1 a.m. with a huge fireworks show. CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp joins me. Nice to see you, Matt.
Good to see you, Greta.
Well, the 4th of July is supposed to be a birthday for America, and just like yesterday was President Trump's birthday, but he's calling his keynote speech a Trump rally. Are we sort of inching over into politics in the midterms and not celebrating the birth of the United States?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know, the whole Freedom 250, I think they separated into 2 groups, which is unusual in this country. It's kind of hard for everyone to stick together, even on things like celebrating our birthday. And I have to say, I remember 1776, the bicentennial, when I was a very young boy.
I mean, 1976, I assume.
What did I say, 17?
17, yeah.
Well, okay. 200 years.
17, you're a real little boy.
200 years after that. And I think these are special moments. And I think a lot of people watched the event last night, and they thought it was cool. And I think the world watched the event. And, you know, with President Trump, he's the show. And everything he goes to turns into partly a conversation about him. So I don't think it's unusual.
I was here for the 1976 one. I just started law school, and you could buy, and everyone was wearing tie-dye T-shirts, and you could buy them on the mall. Can you imagine that? I mean, what a different time.
You know, but all over the country we had celebrations, and I applaud President Trump for making the 4th a big deal. This is a big deal. You know, wasn't too many years ago in this city we were taking down statues and putting spray paint over everything, and it seemed like the marauding gangs were controlling the city, and that's not the case in Washington, D.C.
Well, he's done a wonderful job of making the city prettier, safer, but there is a line where he's, you know, and this is what I worry about on the 4th of July, where it becomes about him, about politics, about the midterms, and not about the historic, you know, aspect of what the day means.
But think about it. You have two parties. The party I'm a part of loves our history, loves our founding, loves our Constitution, despite its birth defects. You know, we, like every country in the world, had legalized slavery. We fought a civil war over it. We got rid of it. And we still have to cherish our history. You know, when you go over to Europe, they don't take down statues. They talk about the statues, the good and the bad of the people. And the other party, now turning towards Marxism, they want to erase all the parts of our history they don't like.
I don't disagree with you on you know the importance of the birth of our country, but there's a way to say it, and I will have to wait to see how the president says it.
Yeah.
If he says, you know, what a great country this is, or if he says, what a great country this is, too bad the Democrats are trying to destroy it, then it becomes political. I mean, that's the problem. It depends on what he says. If he makes it sort of party neutral, and talks about all the great things, the First Amendment, without pointing fingers of blame.
Can I find a line here?
Okay.
How about this? No matter what your politics are, no matter if you want higher taxes or lower taxes, a little less constitutional scrutiny, can't we all agree this is a fantastic country and our founders were some of the most amazing men to ever walk the earth? And can't we all admit that there's something kind of
I agree with you on that.
But I'm not asking you. I'm just saying for Democrats, they have to ask themselves if they're boosters of this country, or they're going to keep saying, you know, what did Michelle Obama say? It's the first time I'm finally proud to be an American. That's no good.
But you get the lousy thing last night at the White House where one of the fighters said something really lousy about Michelle Obama at the end. I mean, it's like, you know, and I hate every time, you know, if I have a Democrat.
But that guy's
an
athlete. He's not a politician.
I understand that, and every time I have a Democrat on, I sound like, you know, challenging the Democrat. And I have a Republican on, I challenge a Republican on this. But it does seem to me that there's a way to do all of this with really celebrating the country without pointing out our division and without having sort of snide remarks that I always fear will be coming.
I think
everybody.
I think that we should. It's a challenge to both sides.
I agree.
Love the country. Love what it stands for. Appreciate its history, even when we've done the wrong things. And that's what I want the Democratic Party to do. Forgive the past, look towards the future. Don't forget the past, but forgive it and move forward. And they can't let us get through it.
Do you know when that last happened?
9/11?
9/11.
Long time ago.
9/11 is a long time ago. We're coming up on the 25th anniversary of that one. But 9/11 is that we had a common enemy in this country, and we were all together. And then I don't know what happened after that. Something happened after that.
Well, we had a couple of wars that turned unpopular, and then the question of this boosterism turning into like military aggression was re-scrutinized, and it kind of jumbled up our politics. And now we're dealing with the consequences of this. Now can we get it back together? Every country had slavery on the face of the globe. We're the only country that can't seem to get past it. Let's get past it.
Well, while we're on the issue of war, the Memorandum of Understanding, any thoughts on that before we've seen the content? But the fact that we haven't seen the content and it's 24 hours old?
Look, I trust the president. He's been making the right moves on these questions. I think we should not be in a long-term military engagement in the Middle East, especially Iran. I don't think we need to be fighting Shia and Sunni and getting involved in the midst of all that. He decapitated the corrupt leaders of the government. I think that was a good move. And he's going to guarantee they don't have a nuclear weapon. Iran with a nuclear weapon is a disaster for civilization. So I want to wait to read it, but I'm happy that it's happening.
Well, I want to wait to read it as well. Anyway, Matt Schlapp, always nice to see you. Oh, brother, remember this feud? There was practically blood on the floor. Here it is.
I saw a defeated man. I saw somebody that knows that it's the end of the Trump organization, already found guilty of fraud. The license will ultimately be taken.
It's proven to be a liar. That's been proven very loudly, clearly. He's a felon, convicted felon for lying. Went to jail for lying.
So now this. 3 years later, after their very public spat, President Trump is publicly thanking his former lawyer, Michael Cohen. Why? Well, Michael Cohen wrote on his blog that he supports the president's anti-weaponization fund. That nearly $2 billion fund would compensate those who are victims of so-called weaponized government. Right now, though, the fund is indefinitely blocked by a federal judge, and earlier this month, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said the administration is not moving forward with the fund. So why is Cohen making nice with Trump now and saying he favors this fund? Easy answer. Cohen said he would be applying for money under the anti-weaponization fund. Yesterday, Cohen said, quote, "I support it because I know firsthand what government weaponization looks like when it is directed at a human being. I know what happens when prosecutors stop seeking justice and start seeking leverage. I know what happens when anonymous leaks become substitutes for evidence," end quote. Now, the president responded to Michael Cohen's support for the fund, saying, quote, "Thank you, Michael. The Democrats weaponized government at levels never seen before, and you survived it all. They should pay the ultimate price for what they have done," end quote. Now, before Trump became president in 2016, Cohen was one of Trump's most trusted legal advisors. He was referred to as Trump's personal fixer, but then Cohen testified against Trump in the Stormy Daniels hush money trial, and their friendship was off. Coming up, how one royal family member is putting a monarchy in the spotlight, and it's not for a good cause. That when the record continues.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Does it ever feel like society is going up in flames, yet people don't have the strength to care? There's a hidden reason for that, and it may surprise you. Testosterone levels in American men are at an historic low, and it's testosterone that gives men the energy to be men. Support your own natural testosterone production with Chalk. Go to chalk.com/TV1 for your $17.76 discount. Chalk's All-American customer service team is standing by.
When it comes to my daily heart health supplement, I've got 3 rules. It's got to be plant-based, it's got to be doctor recommended, and it's got to be Super Beets from Human.
Super Beets is the #1 cardiologist recommended beet brand for heart health support with clinically studied grapeseed extract for nearly 2 times more effective blood pressure support than diet and exercise alone.
Super Beets works. I swear by it, and I know you're going to love it too.
Try Super Beets today at human.com.
I'm David Wright, former New York Mets third baseman, and I support the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. I've seen firsthand the great work they do helping our firefighters, our police, and our soldiers and their families. T2T is asking for your support for these brave men and women. Just $11 a month will go a long way and make a big difference. Go to t2t.org to find out more. Let's go Mets, and let's do good together.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
It was a huge night. More than 4,000 people at the White House and another 80,000 in the fan zones nearby, all for UFC. Mixed martial arts manager Ali Abdelaziz joins me. He represents UFC champion Gustin Gaethje, who had a stunning upset last night at the White House. Nice to see you again. Nice to have you back.
It's
okay,
good
so
to see you.
What was it like? It was a huge upset. So what was it like for you?
I think it was, like I said, it's going to be the greatest sporting event in history. But when I went there, it was different. It was like a family reunion. You see the military, Marines, Navies, all these kids just walk around having a good time. It was no security holding you away from the president. You see Marco Rubio was hanging out. You see Todd Blanfield, Kash Patel, all these guys were just having a great time, shaking people's hand. And it was just a family reunion. And that was, it was like a birthday. And
Do you know what's weird?
Yeah.
And looking at this, is that I don't think there was one arrest or one brawl, or one fight, or one bus set on fire, anything. And you look at the New York Knicks winning the championship the other night, and they said buses on fire, stamped all over cars in Times Square. I mean, that's what struck me, is that it was so, it appeared to be so, and it didn't appear from the screen that it was full of security.
The UFC it's a classy sport. A lot of these kids who become competitors, the NCAA champion, the college student, and they become fighters. And they're really doing it because they love doing it, And it was just, one of the things, I don't want to go too political. Before the fight, we'll see a lot of negative things about why the president having this, why they doing this. And people who's praying for it to be rain and wind and fight to be canceled. And guess what? God have plans.
Okay, I'll tell you something really weird. I lived 3 miles from the White House. It was pouring rain at my house. Dogs would go outside because it rained so hard. It was pouring rain. You didn't get a drop, I don't think, did you?
Not one drop. And it was breezy, it was beautiful, it was nice. Everybody had an amazing night. And, it was great.
What did Justin say after winning? Did you talk to him?
Justin, yeah, I was with him right in the cage watching.
What did he say after you won?
He said, the best thing I can give America, a gift on America's birthday, to have a win in front of President Trump in the White House, in front of his parents, the people who loves, and it was just a great.
Well, unfortunately, there was an insult that was hurled that sort of spoiled a little bit at the end. About Mrs. Obama.
Listen, I think this is one guy, a rogue guy. At the end of the day, some guys, he's one rogue guy. The main focus was Justin Gaethje. He's the main event. He's the main guy. We're not, sports event unite people. Republic, Democrat, America. This is the place you can dream. Everybody can dream here. It doesn't matter where you're from, where you come from. And honestly, I felt this. It was some of them, I'm sure some Democrat there. Everybody brought their kids, their children. Everybody was having fun. I don't agree with the comments, but you know what? What's great about America is freedom of speech.
How long is it going to take that structure down? It's quite a structure. They put up the claw.
President Trump said they might keep it. Maybe next year they'll have one more.
Are you kidding me? He said that? Oh man, as someone who's lived here in Washington a long time, it was the way that it was pulled off flawlessly.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
it was beautiful. And I think the people who all hated on President Trump and the event, they should realize, they was wrong, because this was a sporting event for everybody to watch, to show how beautiful America is. Over 100 million people in 190 countries probably watching this event. And that show in America you can dream. Like everybody was black, white, Muslim, Christian, Jewish. It was united. It was a family affair. Everybody who believed in America, it was there. Everybody who loved America was there.
Well, it was bizarre that you didn't get any rain when we had a ton of it at my house. Anyway, very nice to see you, and congratulations on your success managing him.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
And the eldest son of Norway's crown princess is headed to a new home, prison. Today, Mario Borg Høiby was sentenced to 4 years in prison for 2 rape convictions. He was also convicted of assault and abuse. In addition to his prison sentence, Høiby has been ordered to pay compensation to the victims. Høiby denies all the rape allegations. Høiby also was not present in court today due to health reasons, but he did watch his sentencing hearing through a video link from prison. His sentence is not final in that he can appeal it. He does not hold a royal title since he's not the son of the future king, but the case has drawn global attention since his mother, Princess Mette Marit, is facing her own health issues. She's awaiting a lung transplant. She's also faced global scrutiny for her relationship with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. She has apologized for her past contacts with Epstein, calling it, quote, poor judgment, end quote. Speaking of Epstein, Sarah Kellen, Epstein's longtime aide, claims Epstein may have received special treatment while serving time in the Palm Beach County Jail. Epstein was in that jail from 2008 to 2009. He was there for prostitution-related charges involving a minor. Kellen told the House Oversight Committee that Epstein may have paid off Palm Beach Sheriff's deputies. According to the transcripts, Kellen told the House committee, quote, I know that he arranged to have cash and, like Disneyland tickets, taken to one of the officers in the jail, and I'm not sure what he received with that, end quote. A spokesperson for the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office denies the allegations and says a 2021 Florida law enforcement investigation found no wrongdoing by members of the Sheriff's Office. Coming up, he's back. Former President Barack Obama is speaking out, and is he playing nice? You decide that when the record continues.
Hey, I'm Carl Higbee from Newsmax. Look, I'm unapologetically pro-American, and honestly, this is the one place that lets me call it how it is. I'm not holding back. I'll give it to you straight every single night.
There's a reason the wealthy don't keep all their money in one place. We work hard our entire lives to build wealth for retirement. If your retirement dropped 30% tomorrow, would you be ready? Or would you just have to wait and hope it comes back? The last thing any of us wants is to watch our retirement accounts shrink every time Wall Street panics, the dollar drops, or global uncertainty rises. That's why so many successful Americans turn to gold to help protect their retirement. And Preserve Gold is the only precious metals company I trust and recommend. Let me be frank, gold is not for everybody. And I do not give financial advice, but I do urge you to get my free wealth protection guide from Preserve Gold and learn about a special offer to receive up to $20,000 in free gold and silver. Education is power.
Text Newsmax to 50505.
Falls are the #1 cause of injury to senior citizens. Falling down stairs can be disastrous. Acorn Stairlifts has the solution. Just don't fall. Sit, relax, ride with an Acorn Stairlift, the world's leader in stairlifts. That's right, don't let limited mobility keep you from going up and down your stairs, even outside. Call Acorn Stairlifts now for a free information kit and no obligation quote. Now you can safely ride with your Acorn Stairlift.
Now I don't have to worry about him climbing those stairs anymore.
And our Acorn Stairlift was very affordable.
Our Acorn Stairlift is definitely more affordable than moving.
The Acorn Stairlift has a padded seat and backrest for maximum comfort. It easily folds up for access to the stairway. 5 safety sensors stop your Acorn Stairlift if there is something in the way. And it even runs during power outages.
I am king of my castle again.
You'll be working directly with the world's leader in stairlifts. That's right, there's no middleman. Acorn's trained technicians professionally install your stairlift directly to the staircase. In most cases, in 2 hours or less. There's no need for special construction. We don't leave until you're completely comfortable using your Acorn Stairlift.
Don't risk a serious fall going down the stairs.
I was really surprised at how little it cost.
Call for your free no-obligation information kit and quote from Acorn Stairlifts. Just don't fall. Safely ride up and down your steps.
Give your life a lift with Acorn Stairlifts.
Call 1-800-908-4077 right now for your free information kit or visit our website today. That number again is 1-800-908-4077. Call now.
Sensitive mouth and gums? Ever heard of Closest mouthwash? Your dentist and hygienist have. They know Closest is ultra gentle for sensitive mouths with non-burning mouthwashes that freshen breath, improve gum health, and strengthen teeth. Closest, the gentle mouthwash for sensitive mouths.
For 2 days, President Trump is meeting with G7 leaders in the resort town of Evian, France. G7 stands for Group of Seven. Those 7 countries are the United States, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the UK. Top of their agenda, Iran, of course. Heading to the G7, Trump announcing the United States has reached an initial deal with Iran to end the war. Earlier he said this.
It's a very powerful document. It's not like the Obama document, which was just a terrible document. And the main thing is that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. They fully agreed to that with strong policing powers, and they won't have a nuclear weapon, which is what it was all about, because they probably would have used it if they had it. So we had 2 big moments. When they terminated the JCPOA, that was the Obama deal, the Barack Hussein Obama deal. And when I terminated that, it was very important because it was a road to a nuclear weapon. It was a horrible deal for the United States.
Guess who has some thoughts about all this? Former President Barack Obama.
It is doubtful that any agreement that arises is going to be significantly different or a significant improvement from the deal that we had in the first place and had worked for a long stretch of time before the United States pulled out of it.
Founder and president of Eurasia Group and founder of G0 Media, Ian Bremmer, joins me. Nice to see you again, sir. So the president tells us, says, what's a memorandum of understanding? He says it's a powerful deal. President Obama says that he doesn't think it's going to be significantly better. I don't know. I mean, I'm paraphrasing and probably I'm getting it wrong. But Prime Minister Netanyahu and many in the IDF and many Mossad do not seem enamored with it, but we haven't seen any of the details. Your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I think that if the deal were really great for the Americans, we would be seeing details of the deal by now. And I don't think Lindsey Graham would be saying that J.D. Vance was in charge and he's the statesman that got this done. I think that he'd be saying this is Trump and this is Jared Kushner. So I do think that there is a lot of, let's put it, anxiety on the Republican side. That having a lot of pressure on Trump to get the strait reopened and get it done quickly has led to a deal that is weaker and covers less than certainly any of the war aims that President Trump had at the beginning when this thing started back in February.
Do you think that everyone thought, the president thought, and even Prime Minister Netanyahu thought that Iran would fold rather quickly after February 28th, and that this just dragged on, and they're tougher than anyone anticipated, and they're going to be more resilient than anyone anticipated?
Yeah, it's a little bit like Russia invading Ukraine, right? I mean, in the sense that, in the early days, Putin thought that these guys, they're much smaller, and they'd last for a few days and then they'd fold. And in this case, the Americans were coming off of a staggering success in Venezuela, which, by the way, has only gone better for the Americans and for the Venezuelans over the last several months. And Trump really felt like, okay, I mean, we've got this incredible military power. We're going to assassinate this intransigent 86-year-old supreme leader, show them the military force and the political, sort of willingness to hit. And they're going to back down and they'll engage with us. They'll do a deal. And that was completely wrong. And it turns out that a relatively small military and drones are able to hold a $110 trillion global economy hostage. And Trump really had to get this deal done because the global costs and the cost to the American taxpayer, the American voter, were becoming intolerable.
Well, years ago, when President Obama was president, there was a big protest in Iran, and the United States did not assist the protesters. Fast forward to January of this year, and the numbers seem rather fluid. I've seen numbers from 5,000 to 30,000 protesters in Iran that were killed. I don't know exactly the number. So then the whole purpose at first seemed that we were going to go in and sort of make good on the deal that we didn't do earlier and protect the protesters. Then all of a sudden, February 28th rolled around, and now it's about nuclear enrichment. But I thought we got them last June when we did Operation, I forgot the name of it, last June with Israel. And so it no longer became about the Yeah, but now, I mean, no one's talking about those protesters again. So I'm left in a little state of, confusion about where we're going, what we've achieved, and hopefully this is the end of it, and it's a good deal.
Well, fortunately for Trump, most of his supporters will support him, even if it's completely inconsistent with what he said earlier in the program. And the war remains popular among Republicans at this point, but that's because whatever Trump says goes. You're right. He said that help is on the way. He told the Iranian people, he said that we're going to rescue them. We haven't. He said that the Americans were going to choose the next Ayatollah. So, I mean, unless President Trump picked Mujtaba and I missed it, I don't think that's happening. He said that the ballistic missile program was unacceptable. You saw the Iranians hit Diego Garcia, the American base, far longer range than what the Iranians committed that they were developing up to, and that's not a part of any deal. The Iranians continue to provide military and monetary support to Hezbollah. And they've also made a lot of money. Remember, in the first weeks of this war, the Americans actually suspended sanctions on Iranian crude so that they could get oil out and keep the prices low. What do you think they're going to use that for? Humanitarian aid or to attack people in the region? So, I mean, if you're looking for consistency in the Trump position on the war of Iran, I have a bridge to sell you. If you're looking for, we just need to get out of this war because keeping the strait closed was incredibly damaging, you've got good news on that front.
And of course, we still have to wait to see what happens. I mean, Israel doesn't seem particularly enamored with it, so we'll see what happens.
Correct.
And they've got their own fight on their northern border
Correct.
and into Lebanon. Ian Bremmer, thank you, sir.
Good to see you, Greta.
Kids banned from TikTok? That is what will soon happen in the United Kingdom. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says that children under the age of 16 will be banned from social media apps, including TikTok and YouTube. Why? Well, Starmer wants to protect kids.
This will change the conversations that parents have and the expectations of children over time. It will make a huge difference. It will make our children safer. It will make our children happier. And will give them more time, more security, more freedom to grow up, more opportunity.
Next year, the UK is expected to implement this social media ban. Similar bans, by the way, have been introduced in Australia, Canada, Brazil, and Indonesia. Could the United States follow suit? Well, Congress has considered some proposals. Nothing has passed, and more than 20 individual U.S. states have passed or tried to pass their own laws restricting minors on social media. And today, the state of Florida, which has its own social media law, sued TikTok. Florida's Attorney General James Althmeyer accuses TikTok of violating the law by allowing underage users to access the app. Coming up, more voting concerns. That when the record continues.
It's 2 a.m. Your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed, and you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
Homeowners, are you really covered?
You have your home fire insurance, flood insurance, accident insurance. But how about your plumbing, your electrical, your appliances?
Choice Home Warranty can help cover the repair or replacement of over 25 key systems and appliances. If one breaks down, it won't break the bank getting it repaired or replaced.
Your fridge, covered. Washer dryer, covered. Heating, covered. Your dishwasher, covered. Your AC, covered. Hot water heater, yep, that's covered too.
Join the more than 2.4 million homeowners nationwide that have protected their home with Choice. And Choice has a huge nationwide network of trusted technicians. Call Choice Home Warranty right now for special phone deals available today. And ask how you can get your first month free. Choice has been named the best home warranty company 6 years running and won awards for best claim service. With Choice Home Warranty, there's no home inspection, no commitment. Cancel anytime.
I can't count how many times I was charged a fortune for a specialist just to show up and they couldn't even fix my problems. Now, I'm covered with Choice Home Warranty for everything, from my AC to my ceiling fans. Your microwave? Covered. Your stove? Covered. With over 100,000 five-star customer reviews, Choice is a company they all trust to be covered. And now, so can you.
And if you call right now, you could get a special phone deal not available online. Plus, ask how to get your first month free.
Imagine avoiding shocking repair costs.
Call Choice Home Warranty now and find out how to get special deals only available on the phone. And ask how to get your first month free.
Call 800-998-3234.
California Governor Gavin Newsom says he is ready to fight. Who? President Trump.
In recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees. Not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power ministries to reward cronies and to try to jail his opponents. One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today, I proudly join that list. Mr. President, come after me. I'm not going anywhere.
Speaking of California, 2 weeks ago, California held primaries, and many are questioning the integrity of that election. Some want to know why it took a week for certain races to be called, such as the mayor's and governor's races. Someone who wants to know more is Senator Rick Scott of the state of Florida. On Friday, he wrote a letter to the Justice Department. Republican Florida Senator Rick Scott, who sits on the Foreign Relations Committee, joins me. Nice to see you, sir. And what are you interested in learning about the state of California's election that you wrote a letter to DOJ?
I think we all want to make sure our elections are fair and free. There's no intimidation. There's no fraud. And when you look at what's going on, let's just take the LA race as an example, the mayor's race, and you hear all these stories about homeless people being paid $2 to $5 for their votes. This has to be investigated. How can anybody feel comfortable in these races? I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. We've got to make sure people feel good about our elections so they go out and vote. And that's the reason I've always supported and fought for the Save America Act. You know, you have to be an American citizen to register to vote, and you have to show an ID to vote. It's pretty simple.
Well, you hear nightmares that all these ballots are sent out. I don't know, sent out to people who don't live in California, may have died before, whatever. The ballots get collected and harvested, and I guess people vote for them, and then they return them. I don't know if it's true or not, but we can't find out if it's true or not if we don't investigate. I mean, we're hearing horrible rumors about the integrity of their election.
Well, first off, there should not be any ballot harvesting anywhere in the country. I got rid of it my first year as governor of Florida. Because it just reeks of fraud. And then you've got to put all this effort. We do it right in Florida with mail-in ballots, but in California, they don't do it right. They send it ballots everywhere, and then you don't know who's voting. And then you have all these people saying that they were paid to go vote for a Democrat candidate. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. I'm glad the Department of Justice is focused on it, and we're going to get there.
Why is it that in the state of Florida, I'll pick you as an example, I obviously picked that one because you're here today, that you can have 14 million registered voters, about, give or take, and within 24 hours you have your final tally. And in the state of California, the election night, they don't even count all the ballots, and at best they have maybe 2/3 counted. Why, why is it that California can't count, or some other states can't count, and Florida can? What's the trick?
I think it's intentional. I mean, we know after Bush and Gore, we cleaned up our election rules so we could get things done on time and give people comfort that the elections in Florida are safe and fair. It seems like California and some of these states, they don't want people to feel comfortable. They don't care if people don't feel comfortable. So we did just the opposite. You can do it. It's all doable. You just got to put a process in place and follow the rules.
Whatever happened to absentee ballots, which is like a mail-in ballot? Meaning if you don't want to show up on, or you can't show up, or for whatever reason you can't vote on election day, or maybe you have a job or something doesn't allow you, is that you could sign up to get a ballot, have it sent to you, and then you could apply for one and then send it in. Now it's just sort of ballots get sent out to people.
Well, that's for fraud. I mean, that's all set up for fraud. Like in Florida, you have to, each election cycle, you have to ask for an absentee ballot if you want one. So you don't have this situation where ballots are just sent all over the place and somebody can fill it out, and then you have drop boxes around that are not even monitored. So it just reeks of fraud. So in California, they want fraud. That's the only conclusion you can come with, because they want fraud, and they don't care that people don't feel comfortable about their elections.
How do we make sure, though, that people who might want to vote, I mean, who can't for whatever reason, they're infirm or something, I mean, we also want to make sure that they get to exercise their right, because, each person gets a... How does the state of Florida do anything to make sure those who would like to vote and for some reason can't get to the poll or can't get a ballot? I mean, is there outreach to them? Or they haven't registered and they want to register? Is there an outreach?
Sure. Number one, we have early voting, so you can go to either to the supervisor elections office per county, or go to an election site and vote early. All right. You can ask for an absentee ballot. All right. You have to be a registered voter. You can ask for it, and your signatures have to match, and you can send it in. But you've got to get it. It's got to be received by election day. You can't be. Oh, you can get it a week later, and you don't have to put your. There's have to be even know when you send it in. So, I mean, we do it to where we allow you to have the opportunity to vote, but you can't be fraudulent.
Senator Rick Scott, thank you, sir. Always nice to see you.
Hi, Greta.
And these are some respectful visitors. Yesterday, Japan's soccer team tied with the Netherlands soccer team in the World Cup. And after the match, fans from Japan stayed behind to help clean up litter at Dallas Stadium. There was even a fan in a wheelchair who helped throw away trash in his section. And guess who was there to assist the fan? New York Giants quarterback Jameis Winston. And as you might know, cleaning up is part of Japanese culture. At a very young age, Japanese children are taught to clean up after themselves and leave a place the way they found it. Coming up, something you don't know about Appleton, Wisconsin, besides that I grew up there. That when the record continues.
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Pain and Inflammation Relief Roll-On.
Your muscle and joint inflammation is real. Here's what real customers are saying about MagnaLife Pain and Inflammation Relief Roll-On. It worked great.
Available at your local retailer.
You know, when it comes to gutter protection, there's a lot of names being thrown around out there, but there's only one Leaf Guard. Now, other companies will try to sell you a screen, a mesh, or a cover to go over your old gutters, but those don't compare to Leaf Guard. The top's not a cover, it's part of the gutter. Leaf Guard is the only patented one-piece seamless system with a clog-free guarantee and transferable lifetime warranty. And during our Ugly Gutters sale, trade in your old gutters and we'll give you up to $500 toward your purchase of a complete Leaf Guard system. And we'll even haul your old gutters away, plus zero down and payment starting at just $75 a month. And call during this program for a bonus. Receive a free $100 Visa gift card with your in-home estimate. Leaf Guard is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, and according to Guild Quality, Leaf Guard customers are twice as happy. But don't just take our word for it.
We just wanted to know that we had good gutters.
To never clean again, that sold me right there.
It's one seamless piece from one end to the other.
Leaf Guard works so well that it's received the Good Housekeeping seal for over 20 years. And it's attached to the fascia with screws, not nails. It's not coming down. And you get the added protection of our exclusive fascia wrap. Don't deal with those old gutters any longer. Call during Leaf Guard's Ugly Gutters sale. Trade in your old gutters and we'll give you up to $500 towards your Leaf Guard purchase. We'll even haul your old gutters away. Zero down and payment starting at just $75 per month. Plus a bonus, call during this program for a free $100 Visa gift card with your in-home estimate. Call 1-800-541-1274. Now, let me give you that number again. 1-800-541-1274.
How was school today? It was good. They want to cast me as the lead in school play.
That's fantastic, isn't it? Are you going to do it? You okay?
Honey, do you want to talk about it, Daddy?
Yeah.
Steak is for dads, grill dads, tongue-snapping dads, united by their love of steak. His perfect gift is waiting, plus 8 free burgers. Get it in time for Father's Day at omahasteaks.com.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, at 92 years of age with my wife Shirley, who is 83. Now, both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, all because of Immuno 150. Now, we are asking you to use Immuno 150 like we do. Give it a chance for at least 90 days so that you can see what 70 plant minerals and 80 additional nutrients can do for you.
It really is incredible.
Don't place your order until after you've watched the 3 videos on our website.
For pain in multiple spots like here, here, or here, Salonpas patches stick firmly and remove comfortably once your pain is gone. Salonpas. It's good medicine.
Only in my hometown of Appleton, Wisconsin, the nation's largest and oldest Flag Day parade, 75 straight years. Thousands lined up along the route to celebrate Appleton's 75th Flag Day parade. They saw 100 floats and even the members of the Scarlet Guard Color Guard. Every year since 1950, Appleton has held the Flag Day parade. This year's theme was Stars, Stripes, and New Beginnings. I went to a bunch of those parades. And don't forget, I have a new podcast called Greta Wire. You can subscribe now on your favorite podcast app. It's free. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or at newsmax.com/listen. Thank you for watching. Ed Henry, The Big Take, is up next. Stay with Newsmax.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.